Hi, everybody in attendance. We appreciate you taking a little bit of time to share with us today in Auctria. We have a jam-packed presentation for you today. I brought along the two really smart people to show you all the Auctria stuff. I've got Tracy and I've got Elizabeth. Thank you, ladies.
Hi,
Thank
thanks for
you.
having us.
Great to be
It
here.
Thanks. We are going to do some slides. We are going to do some screen share. Go ahead and drop any questions into the chat pod. You know, I always ask you, where are you tuning in from? And what kind of organization are you fundraising for? If you want to put in what the temp is where you're at, that's okay too, because we're having some fun with the cold here. So go ahead and drop that into the chat pod. As you do that, I'm going to start to kick off our slides here because we brought along a lot. We're kicking off 2025 with a lot of new features, new dashboard, and a lot of exciting things. We are very proud to announce that since 2011, you guys out there, you're the superheroes, have raised over $1 billion using the Auctria platform. So can I get a cheer in the chat? Can I get a woohoo? Can I get a smiley face? Can I get anything to celebrate that milestone that you guys have achieved? You're phenomenal out there. You've done phenomenal work. You have used Auctria for years and years and years, and we appreciate you. I did promote that anybody that attends here will be entered in to win a Sugar Wish giveaway. So as we open the doors and start to roll in, I'm going to grab the attendee list and we're going to spin the wheel at the end of this. So go ahead and I'm happy that you're here. I will grab that information from you and we will move on, and I'll do that at the end. This is our agenda, our jam-packed agenda. We are going to talk about efficiency and we're going to talk about being streamlined. And you're going to hear that over and over and over again. Instead of raise money, raise awareness that I usually go down. But that's always in the overarching messaging. So we are going to share the what, the where, and the why. We're going to do a little bit of an orientation. We're going to talk about the dashboards with an S. Yes, that's plural. There are multiple dashboards now. We're going to talk about a unified settings page. We're going to talk about how agile and streamlined check-in. We're going to talk about recording, and Izzy's going to take us on a little tour on that, on final bids, sales, Dessert Dash. Dessert Dash has its own home now. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Give me the Boston cream pie. Donations, paddle raise. The admin app is far superior than it has been in the past. You're going to be so happy because all the times when you ask, Laura, can we do this? Laura, can we do that? I'm like, it's coming. It's coming. You know what? It's here. It's here today. It's here for your fundraising season. It's going to be so easy for you. And I brought along little candy confetti, and Auctria is your source for knowledge, and we'll talk about that. So with that, the why. Why are we doing this? Because Auctria is easier and making things faster. And by the way, nothing has been removed. If you're like, Laura, I can't stand this, I want to go back to the old dashboard, fine, click the button. However, nothing has been removed. We've just moved it around a little slightly so that it's easier to learn, easier to teach, easier to navigate. The lesser used areas are moved to a lower level, so you don't have to see all these little picker boxes and be like, do I want that? Do I not want that? Things that aren't used as much, we've lowered the temp or lowered the volume on that. It doesn't mean they're less important, though. They're still there. And we've more unified all of our settings. We're going to focus on activity, or the dashboards will allow you to focus on activity. There's less distraction. It's quick clicks so that you can save time. And in the fall, if you guys weren't with us in the fall, we changed our terminology and we shifted from bidders to participants. So we're going to resurrect that, a little bit of that conversation, so that we're all talking the same language. At this point, I am going to pass it over to my very capable teammates here.
Thanks, Lori. And it is really fun and exciting to be here today. Thank you for entering your names and where you're from and temperatures. There are some lovely, warmer places, but I see some fellow cold places like me too. I'm Tracy, and I'm just going to start a bit on we're going to highlight the changes that have been made. We're going to do a dashboard tour. We'll go back and forth. So thank you for dropping in the chat. If you have any questions, please drop those in as well, and we'll answer them at the end. But again, thank you. We certainly appreciate your time. So jumping over to the orientation, and Lori just shared some of the changes really have been intentional. We are always looking at constant innovation, and that means for every fundraising season, you will have the smartest and most efficient software to raise money and raise awareness for your cause. So these updates are here to improve efficiency, have fewer clicks, and this translates to streamlining the guest experience while enhancing the administrative side. So let's just start here. Here we go. So we'll just jump right in. When you get to the dashboard, you're going to notice the change right away. And it's a big change on the sidebar. It looks different, and it's changed to be thematic. So same activities are also there, but they're grouped more logically. Starting at the top, you'll see the dashboard, website, some quick click areas, the details section, managing the data for the event. A lot of setup will happen here, people, guest interactions. The actions, that's more the area of recording transactions, often event night, but before as well. The explore area is grouping the reports and the financials, and the setup for the admin level, the organizational settings are there. And getting to terminology, like Lori mentioned, in the fall of 2024, we add some terminology changes. Auctria has been best in class for auctions, and it has grown and evolved to a top-tier platform for event fundraising as well. So the platform's terminology and features now reflect this broader focus from the admin view and to the guest, or now you'll see participant experience as well. So you'll notice it right away on the left sidebar. Bidders now call participant, auctions are events, and that will carry through as well for the guest experience. Now you can choose your terminology to be event-centric, or it can be auction-centric as well. And then we're going to go to dashboards. And again, there is an S on this. There are now multiple dashboards available. We'll be showing you some throughout, but we're going to start with the main ones. With the main option is allowing some more focused views. So right at the top on the right corner, you'll see that there's dashboard view, and you'll be able to make 3 different views. Default, which is the main view, to day of, to post event. Default view is where you're likely to spend most of your time during setup and preparations. And then we'll move to the, here we go. It's and the day of. And this is designed so that you can access the most frequently used areas on your event day or night event at your fingertips. And this is dynamic as well. So you'll notice this screenshot has many blocks on it, but it will reflect your own if you have live or if you have silent or what you don't have. It will be reflecting what kind of items that you have. From the day of dashboard, though, you can have an even more focused view if you click on the blue banner. And this is really intended to remove even more distractions and maximize screen space. It slims down the left-hand dashboard, and you'll notice it also minimized or slimmed down the top level as well, with the clicks that are ready to be real quick from dashboard, check-in, check-out, bidding, donations, and sales. That, again, what you're going to be focused on the night of your event. Now, the next dashboard is the post-event, and that's where it helps you see final tallies, quick links for reports, and there are some quick taps too if you have any straggler, last minute, little slower transactions that need to be recorded. It is a streamlined place to do that as well. Oh, sorry, I double clicked on that, but these new dashboards that we're talking about are for 2025, but nothing has been removed. And if you want to revert back to the previous dashboard, that's okay too. It's all still there. The link to Fall 2024 release is in the banner on the dashboard, so you can click back and forth if you would like, just to compare and see how that's changed. So streamlining your workflow, we hear that and we understand and we want to join in on that. So previously, the event settings and checkboxes were set across multiple areas during the setup of your event. Now everything you need is in one comprehensive place, the unified settings place, intended to streamline your workflow and take control with ease. So you'll see here, this all in one place is aptly called Settings, and it's in the left side sidebar under the settings. So you're going to notice it near the bottom more. And this is a superset of all the settings. Here you can scroll through them, see them with fewer clicks. You can do a search, review, make your modifications, move on. Now the individual pages of settings, for example, like credit card that are clustered together, they're still there. They're available, and you'll see the links on the side. So now I'm going to ask Elizabeth, can you take us on a tour and show how that looks in Auctria?
Thanks, Tracy. All right, so next I'm going to take you on a tour because I know she was going through a lot. It seems like a lot of changes, so we'll walk through just a little bit slower. And I will go ahead and can you see my screen now? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So here's the dashboard, and on the left-hand side, this is where you can see those changes that Tracy was talking about under details. You have the event. One thing to note is based on feedback, we moved the event website to the top because we hear a lot of groups are in there very frequently. And then you have your items, participants, raffles, sponsorships, tickets, and ability to import on the paid plans. And then under actions, this is going to be your go-to place day of, where you have the check-in, check-out, bidding, donation, and sales, all those go-to things all in one spot. After the event, it's great to look at financials and reports as well as be able to export. So this is just all on the left-hand side, and then down at the bottom, this is where you're going to want to look prior to kicking things off. You're definitely going to want to make sure if you're using a payment processor like Stripe or Authorize.net so people can pay by card, you have your credit cards tab here, organizations, printing, settings, and resources. Here is my new favorite setting area is the settings because it is all in one. No more having to go to a bunch of different places to figure out the settings. You can just go down on the bottom left under settings right here, and that's where you're going to be able to either search for a setting. So here I can say, I'm doing an online auction. I want to see related settings, potentially related settings. So you can search and it will bring up the relevant settings there. Or I say I guess, it is great to also just scroll down. This will list all of the settings in one spot if you don't search. So you have check-in settings, check-out. If you're not doing a certain feature, you can skip that. We have dessert dash settings here, event settings, meal choices, mobile wallet, notifications. Here's your online bidding settings, as well as checkout and payment settings. So tons of different options here. And once again, that was all under the general settings page found on the left-hand side here under settings. So my favorite is definitely the search up here. It's a great way to get you started looking at the settings. Some people I know like to toggle based on the left-hand side with these little shortcuts to ticket settings or registration and checkout settings, as well as online bidding. So whatever works best for you, there are lots of options there. And then just circling back to the views of the dashboard, which Tracy had mentioned, up on the right-hand side here, you have default, which is what it's going to default to when you sign in. This is the full dashboard. Then you have our handy day of dashboard, because we know when you're at the event, you maybe don't need all of those other functions. but you do probably need check-in or check-out, or at least how to record live or paper bids. So this really just streamlines it for day of. And then we've made it super easy with your post-event option here, where you can see what the income was, the winning details. If you need to follow up and record anything, maybe you didn't get a chance to record it at the time, you can do that here. So this is a great place. And then if you want to toggle back to your default, you always have the ability to do that here. And in addition to all of that, we have a focused view, which you can go into at the top. So I know that was pretty quick. I'll do it again. It's just right here at the top. This little icon is going to take you into focus mode. And that makes it easy so you don't see all of the options at the top. It will just show you more of the core functionality there. So I'm in focus mode, I'm out, and then you can go between the dashboards here. So that is an overview of our settings and dashboard. I'm going to toss it back.
That's great. Thanks, Elizabeth. And so I'm actually going to highlight some other changes in the pre-event and the setup and then the actions. And we're going to do this again. Elizabeth will take us on a tour so that you can see it live on the Auctria dashboard. So just where some change, whoops, there we go, that we're very excited about is the new table dashboard. Now this would be under your tables area, and we have revamped the assigned seating page. There's new layout, so it's easier to see, less scrolling. There's the drag and drop onto the page as well. And you'll notice there's a red arrow. We wanted to highlight that you can collapse or expand your participant view. Again, it just bringing a much more visual understanding to how the tables are set up and what tables are full, and also less clicks and scrolling. Health checks. We like to just talk about our health checks so that, again, it's in one place that it brings some individual checks indicating if there's anything in your event that might require some attention. The health check messages include action links for every message, making it easy to take the necessary steps. Is there a double email in there or a duplicate? Click through and you can see who that is. And that would be on the See Details. And if you're not sure what one means, there's a Learn More that you can click through to see what area that's referring to. Now, by default on new events, the health check warnings will be blank. So if you do see a warning, you're absolutely going to want to click on it. There. And our another new area for us is our check-in field settings that you can set in advance prior to your event. And that will help identify what fields are required. But on this page as well, you can identify what's included in the emails and in the text messages too. That's under check-in settings. Now, this is a very new, exciting area that we've had lots of interest in and requests. So we have brought that in, and it's a self-check-in. Now, you can send in self-check-in by email in advance. So you're prompting guests to check in to confirm their information online prior to the event. We know that getting accurate information in advance is key and can help streamline the check-in for your guests, but also for your volunteers. So you'll see here that is done by email. It will send a text confirmation when it has done, and those emails can be edited. So this is what we like to share. We're seeing you can update the wording on these pre-check-in emails or call them an early check-in email, and inviting participants to update their information. And often we see great incentives, maybe front of the line, express a special drink, so that guests come, they're excited. It is done with ease and smoothness, and you have the information you are looking for in advance. And we are sharing about self-check-in. That doesn't mean that you can't use the regular check-in screens. We're going to be sharing more about that, but yes, you can still use the check-in from the dashboard. And very exciting is our admin app. We'll be sharing more about this too, but just wanted to add it here. It's easy to use with the focus views. You don't have to have extra equipment. So our admin app, which is now on Apple and Android, includes the check-in feature. Now we'll move into the action section of the dashboard. And it's, again, grouping activities together that just makes sense. So if you click on the left sidebar, you're going to notice under the actions area, there's check-in, checkout, bidding, donations, and sales. Now, jumping to the check-in area, you're going to notice that this is being revamped as well. It's more on the card look. As you select participants, there's some settings that it will try and suggest if there's some grouping. And so it can really reduce friction and have check-in with ease. You can we'll be talking about the admin app can be used as well, but this one is from the check-in screen. And so the screens are bigger with more information and easier to access the information. Our checkout is still there. We're going through, there's not any major changes here, although we'd like to call out that participants can now elect to cover credit card fees in advance, and this will apply to all future payments. And this has been really key if you're looking to do batch checkout. The bidding area. Now this is a new dashboard, and you'll notice on here it is this image has live online paper, but it is a dynamic, so it will reflect what kind of items are in your event as well. So if you have live and paper only or live and online, it will only show those boxes. And this is a place to enter the winning bids. It's filtered based on event type, so the squares match the type of activity. I'm going to just jump down here to live. So you record the winning bids on your live auction items. This page has a pre-filter, so it will only show your live items, less for searching, and makes data entry at your event faster. And this is a new feature as well. As we say, sell it twice or more. If you have an item that you have an option to have multiple of, or I've been at events where the donor says, let's do that, I have a second one we can offer, you can enter that on the fly and record another winner. On the back end, it will then do the necessary changes to allow multiple winners. That's a very fun and exciting feature. And then we are moving to our paper bid sheets, making it streamlining, error-free. So the idea is that it's fast to enter them in. You'll notice on the right-hand side, the item's image is displayed as a double check, ensuring more accurate data entry with fewer errors. And donations. This donation a very exciting dashboard. We were really excited to see it. It's more comprehensive. You'll notice that it has buttons for dessert dash, paddle race, and other cash donations. So starting with our dessert dash, it can be done multiple ways. We recognize that all the time. But on this one, if you wanted to print dessert dash sheets, collect and enter amounts for the participants, this can be done starting at the dessert dashboard. The dashboard will also display the totals by table. And we like to call out, we're saying that there's other ways you can do dessert dash as well if you wanted to try something new. If you have an event where you've already assigned tables and assigned seating, you can go ahead and print a QR code at the table. Guests can scan and donate, show the leaderboard, and see the competition in the room. All these are options and available. And then we're going to move into the paddle raise. This can be such a key part of your event, and so it's quicker and easier than ever. Just click on the donation level, then start typing in the paddle number. It's that simple. At the top, you can watch the totals update in real time, so you can keep an eye on the tally as those donations come in. And this is a new sales area as well, a new sales dashboard. You'll notice there's two main buttons here as well. One is record sales, and that's really works so well if you're doing detailed transactions, such as tickets or sponsorships, where you have more time, you want to be entering in more details. But then we also have the quick sales. That's ideal for the fast in-room sales like drink tickets or raffle tickets, where participants are already in the system. And there's a quick side on that as well. And we know everyone has their favorites, so you'll want to choose a method to work fast and work smart. Elizabeth, I tried to get through these. A little taste. A little taste. Excited about the dashboard tour, and then we can see it live in action.
Perfect. Let's do it. Let's give them a tour. All right, here that I have my dashboard open. And what we're going to do first is we're going to show you where check-in is. So check-in is just here on the left-hand side. We've made this easy so you can just search by name. So you're searching here. You can also scan a QR code if you want to use the admin app to do that. But on the dashboard, you can search by first or last name. So here I searched Izzy. I can click. It's going to show you the email if they have a ticket here. You also have the ability, if you add a tag to an item, to have it show up here. Like I put speaker. You could also do VIP, things like that. Click on it, and we have consolidated this area. So no more scrolling, all in one spot. You're able to click to update, save information. You'll be able to see if they have a card on file or to add one. Something that is great in this area is we've added other guests you may want to include. So if somebody bought tickets and they have guests, you can click to include in check-in, so you don't have to go back to the main check-in page and look for them. You can then update the other guest information here and then check them both in at the same time. Hopefully that will save you lots of times, because we know sometimes check-in can be a bit of a headache or stress if there are lines, so that will hopefully speed things up. We also have checkout here on the left-hand side. You can click there. This is not too dissimilar from how it was in the past, just easier to see here right below check-in. Then we have bidding. This is where you're going to be able to record those live auction winners if you need to record online auction winners or paper bid sheet winners. So if I click into record live, it is just like Tracy showed you, where you can click next to the item you want to record the winner for, enter their paddle number, bid amount, and hit record. And then if you need to add an additional winner, it will give you an option as well. So we have both standard and quick entry here. Under bidding, you can also record, we know this is a common one, recording the paper auction winners for your silent auction. You can use quick entry, where you can do the item number, paddle number, amount, and hit record. Or if you're not using paddle numbers, you can search by name here. So that is under bidding, and then record paper bids. And next we have donations. This is one of my favorites because it has the dessert dash feature here, which if you are assigning tables in Auctria and selling tickets through Auctria, you can get those to auto-populate, really speeding up the process so you no longer have to add them one by one. And then you can click in to record that dessert dash easily, selecting the table number, entering the paddle number and amount, and then record. And then we have paddle raise. This is a time saver right here. If you pre-add these levels, you can say I wanted to add a level for $100. You'd want to do this typically before the event, just because we know day of you are probably going to be very busy. And then I can just enter paddle number, record, paddle number, record, paddle number, record, and then I can move on to the next level. So now I want to do 500, and I just do paddle number, record, paddle number, record. So these are all found under the donations tab. And I know that there's so many other things I want to go over, but those are the highest level things. Is now check-in is made easy, checkout, bidding, donations, and sales. Next, we're going to hop on over and we're going to talk about the admin app. I know that I mentioned some of our new features for saving time with the new check-in. One of the big time savers is the admin app. No more cords. You don't have to have cords. You don't have to be bound to one area. We're streamlining things with the admin app to encourage you to be able to work the room. You can still do the traditional check-in at a table like Tracy mentioned, but now you just have more freedom. So we're going to go to the next slide, please. All right. The Auctria Admin app is now available in Android and Apple devices. You spoke and we heard you. We know that people have been asking for it on Android for a while, and now it's available. So to utilize the Admin app, you're going to want to download and test it in advance just to make sure things go smoothly at your event. Don't wait till day of to download that. It's easy. It's just the Auctria Admin app. The power is in your hand. You can check in and tap to add a credit card to file, so you're not frantically scrambling trying to type it in. And upon checkout, it's smoother. You can even use it as tap to pay, and you can check out to add final donations. Next, thank you. Check in and check out fast. That's really the goal of the Admin app, is to help you streamline things, just like you would at a desk, but now it's just handheld. Even better, because you can use your device, like I mentioned, to tap to add a card to the profile. So from your phone, you can process sales transactions. So next slide, please. Thank you. So you can process sales transactions. This is a big one. This just rolled out. So if you've been in the Admin app recently and did not see this, you want to take another look, because we added this so you can record sales. So whether you're selling raffle tickets, drink tickets, heads or tails, buy-ins, what else? There are so many things that you can sell for your event now available in the Admin app. You can add to an account to make payment from the Admin app if you've connected a Stripe account, and you can even use the tap to pay feature. So here, this slide is just kind of walking you through what that looks like when you add something to the account and then go to make payment. All right, another exciting thing I'm sure that a lot of you would like is Auctria's help. So it's smarter, more robust help with Auctria. At the top of your dashboard, there's a magnifying glass icon. If you click on that, you can actually type in what you're searching for. And below, it's going to populate a list of relevant dashboard pages and helpful user guide pages, webinars, or blog posts that we've done. So here we have an example of an online auction. You type that in there, and then it shows you the relevant dashboard pages. And right below that, depending on what your needs are, you can click on the help resources. Auctria's help just got a major upgrade, so if you've been in our user guide lately, you probably noticed we still have the simple search up at the top. That's where you can type what you're looking for. But if you have a question and you actually want to type the question, you can do that and get an instant response by asking the AI. So you would just either type the question in the search bar, or up at that right-hand side, that's where the toggle is to go between search and ask AI. You can type the question, and if you ask AI, it's going to not only tell you an answer, it's going to include the links for relevant user guide pages that you might find helpful. So it's not just answers, it's inspiration, discover solutions and new ideas so you can implement it with ease. All right. I'm going to toss it back over to Lori, and she's going to talk about some sweet treats.
Thank you so much, Izzy and Tracy. I know we're filling your heads. I hope we're filling your heads with really good advice so that you can do as much as you can with that audience that's out there that you've worked so hard to bring into the room, or to bring into the online auction, or to bring in to your mission. Your head might explode. I hear you. I hear you. I'm going to give you a little more. And yes, a replay will be available. I'll give you the slides afterwards. Don't worry. For some extra sweetness, we are going to give you some sprinkles. I'm from Philly, so I'm going to call them some jimmies, but I think most people don't understand when I say that. So it's some sprinkles, but I like chocolate jimmies. For some extra sweetness, participants can cover future credit card fees. And this applies to batch checkout as well. Tracy talked about that a little earlier, that we added that in. This is awesome. If you recall in the past when you did batch checkout, you couldn't automatically put in credit card fees. So you might have been losing a little bit of money, but now people can elect to cover that. And that's from that point forward. Raffles can be set up in a way that a ticket holder can win only once. People have asked us for that too. Sponsorships, the purchaser can now upload their own logo. Can I get a what on that one? I know you guys have been asking for it, and it was so close. We kept increasing the ability for sponsorships to load and purchase Now they can upload their logo. I saw somebody ask about the HEIC type images. Those should work. Sometimes your computer takes a little longer to process it. Sometimes your phone does, but those should work. Give us a shout out on the helpline if that's not working. Advanced texting, there's been a lot of campaign registry conversations, and it used to be only advanced texting was available for 501c3s. Now it's available to everybody. Another thumbs up. Smart templates. Auctria's event website templates are brilliant, like Mensa smart, not just kind of gifted smart. You can, as soon as you add tickets, it will show up on your website. As soon as you add sponsorships, it's going to show up on your website. As soon as you start to you add your online auction, it'll show up on your website. You can close it down if you want or hide that page. You can still do that, but they're very smart and they will automatically populate with the information that you have. Side note here, if you're copying over from a previous event website, I'm not talking about the event, but the event website, the smart pieces don't necessarily follow that because it's following exactly your prior event website. So if you want to start with a new one, that'd be the best way to grab those smart template availabilities. And then I think I saw Patrick in there. Because of Patrick Siver, there is an unstyled one. So if you totally want to start with a blank, you can do that. Templates are all now updated with buttons that are reacting to your theme colors. In the past, you had to change those also. And then we also have a pickleball template, which is now live because we know that you guys are out there trying to grab as many people as active as they are, not necessarily just your black tie gala, just your online auction. You want to do a lot of fun things with your audience. So that's available. So I wanted to give you just a look back in the last quarter and in the last week. We had a lot of fabulous webinars. The GFS team came to us and talked about attracting a younger audience with the Gen Zs. We had a couple auctioneers that joined us the last quarter of last year. One was Rush Auctioneers talking about Beyond the Paddle Raise and talking more about the psychology behind donor motivation. And then we had Dean from DM Auction Services, and he was talking about raise craze and in the room, heads, tails, and how to maximize that. So if you want to scan that code, that's going to take you to our past webinars page. Take that, grab that, share it with your team. Upcoming webinars, so moving forward, we are jam-packed also. On January 29th, we have Nonprofits Comprehensive Marketing Plan. The Community Boost crew is coming to us. And I want you to guys, I brought along a little image about the Community Boost. I think I did. I think. Community Boost is an amazing online resource. It's a 3-day virtual conference. It's for free. Auctria is a sponsor of it, helping to bring it free for everybody. And prior to that, on the 29th, Candace is coming here to talk about marketing plans that you can utilize for your event fundraiser. On the 12th, we're going to talk about elevating your auction catalog. Renee Zhao from Donation Match is coming, and I have Christy from Gifts That Give Back. Wait till you see the pieces that she has that you can add in. And then George Franco is going to be visiting us from Atlanta, and he will be joining us. So our webinars are always free. They're always open to the public, and we always encourage you to bring your whole team. And be inspired. You can visit the events directory. Everybody's always asking us, hey, what's everybody else doing? Can I peek behind the curtains and see what they're doing? Absolutely can. The events directory is the best place to hang out. And the ones that are gold on there are the ones that were created by Izzy and the Auctria launch team. So if you want to see what the Auctria launch is creating, you can go ahead and click on the ones that are gold. Speaking of launch, if your team is just spread too thin, you want some expert help, and you want to dump the work back onto Auctria, you can do that with launch. You get 3 Zoom calls with a launch specialist. Auctria team will do the setup in the system, will do the event website setup, and it saves you so much time. They'll also do a training for your check-in and your checkout people. And then there is day of emergency support, but that phone number rarely rings. If you want even more help, there's Launch and Launch Plus. Launch Plus will even do 2 extra graphics for you, custom graphics, and there's 2 extra phone calls. You'll have a post-event phone call so you can pull down your reports. Suppose you just need a little bit of help. You're thinking, Laura, I got this. I've been here a while, but you hit a speed bump or you're just looking for some extra help. You can pick up an Assist 20 or an Assist 45 minute. And that's a Zoom call. That's your agenda from the minute we start to the minute we end. And that's recorded so you can share that back with your team. This is new for this year. We've added on Auctria welcome calls. So we always do our demo calls, but we felt like we were leaving the people that were new to Auctria a little behind. So Auctria regularly holds welcome calls for new users to help you get started setting up your event. Those are very, very small group. There's only, I think, 6 seats for those. And you're more than welcome to come to a welcome call if you're a new user and you need some help getting started. In 2024, we went to AFP in Toronto. We went to the Benefit Auctions conference in Miami. We did the Inspired Fundraising Retreat in Tennessee. And 2025, these are our conference plans for right now. We're going to add on to these. I was talking about the March 4th to 6th. The registration is open and free, Nonprofit Marketing Summit. We're going to be sending out some emails on this, but I would love to see all of you there. There are 5 stages that run for 3 days, pretty much from 9 to 5. There is just a ton of information and a ton of guest speakers. We will be at AFP Icon in Seattle. We're going west, people. We are going to Seattle. We are going to be there. If you are out in the Seattle area and you want to grab a coffee with us, call me, email me, text me, however. We're also going to Portland after Seattle, and we're going to head a little south. I think that's south. Head a little south and hang out with our friends down there. And then in August, we have our Inspired Fundraising Retreat we'll do again. And I haven't even gotten into the rest of our the second half of the year. I always ask people, join us on our Facebook group. Auction Team Talk is the nicest page on Facebook, where auction and fundraising event teams gather to share ideas and compare notes. We are active on Facebook, our Facebook group. You can always email us hello@auctria.com. If we didn't answer your question or you have another one, go ahead and drop it in here. We always promise to never hang up until we answer everybody's.
That is great. Well, if we want to start off, there was one early on, and I can start that with Wendy, and a couple of other people had the same challenge. And it said, when I open up Auctria, a 2022 event is pinned to the top. How do I change so current opens when logging in?
So,
no. Okay.
Perhaps the date might be wrong in your event. Maybe you inadvertently selected 2024 instead of 2025. So double check that. Or perhaps you had bookmarked a specific event to open to that site. So check your bookmarks. And then I have a link here for you. I'm going to put it in here. app.auctria.com/home should bring you to the right one. So I'm going to drop that into the chat here so that you have all 3 pieces of that information. So check those things. And then if you're still having trouble, drop us an email on that.
That's great. And the next question came in from Sarah. Such a great question. I'd like to understand whether or when to use paddle raise function under our new donations area versus having a paddle raise item as a donation.
Well,
you
don't. Yeah.
Because I have an opinion, but
the great thing is with the paddle raise feature, you don't have to add the item. You just add it in there. It's going to create it for you, and you can record it. The paddle raise feature is wonderful because it's fast if you're using paddles. Now, I have seen a handful of groups over the last couple of weeks use the other donation to record donations because they're doing a fund a need and they're funding different specific needs. So they want to create different items because it's not going into just a general fund. And what I mean by that is they may say, fund our new playground, fund iPads for the kindergarten class. things like that, and they need to actually track how much funds were raised for each need. All right, Tracy, Lori, what else do you have to add to that?
Pretty much. I mean, it makes it so easy now that you can quickly pin it. It depends if you wanted to go to a specific fund or not, that you would want to delegate those dollars for it, which is pretty much what you just said, right?
Same.
I would say that.
Exactly.
And, some of this will be just a reminder. Under our events, you can create a test auction, and it may be just easier to try that, see if you like it. With our new paddle raise, we also have custom. We recognize that often you may set limits, like set steps, but if you do notice that you have a lot of different areas, sometimes that's a reason to have an individual paddle raise as a donation. But we would say that, try it out. The new feature is intended as a general amount to capture and be ease of use. So it may end up being personal preference, though.
Awesome. Tracy, I feel like there were a couple questions that were answered along the way. Are we missing anything?
Well, the next one, Mary asks, how do you create a paper bid sheet from the items donated page? We have a screen share here. And you can, okay. Are you going in, Elizabeth?
No, sorry. I was trying to, nope.
I can go in. Sorry, it wasn't letting me. All right, so here, when somebody donates an item using the item solicitation page on your event website, you as an organizer would need to go in and approve or reject the item, and you can modify it. So under items, you would be able to review solicited items, and they would show up here, and you can choose to accept it. Once you do that, those items are going to be in the system. And from there, it's super easy. You can just scroll down to where it says printing on the left-hand side, and you're going to be able to click on bid sheets, and you can print the bid sheets for those items. So I could say paper items, because I want these for my paper silent auction items, and then I could download. Now, sometimes, more often than not, a lot of groups like to go under options, and you can actually control what's going to show on that page. Do you want it to be 2 columns or 1 column? Do you want it to show the bid increments, the categories, the descriptions, the donors? Lots of different options there. Once you've selected the options you want and what you'd like to print them for, you can just hit download, and that's going to go ahead and print those bid sheets out. That'll download them so you can print them out.
That's great. Ruth asks, do the changes that we talked about have any impact on our ability to clone a previous event and basically reuse it?
No, in that you can clone it. Yes, in that it's not going to have those updated features like the smart template. So if you're using one of the older website templates, they're not going to automatically populate the pages when you add the items. You can, however, go in and add the visibility. So under the event website here, if you click on Edit Website, you have the ability to go in and change it and add visibility rules if you'd like. And what I mean by that, say I'm selling tickets now and I want everybody to see the tickets page. But maybe I don't want them to see the online auction page yet because I don't have those items yet. I'm still trying to get them from volunteers and donors. So I could go to the page I want hidden. And on the left-hand side, once I've selected that page, under current page, there's an option to add behavior visibility. And then it'll give you different options. So I have it on has.
Are you sharing? Do you think you're it's not sharing the
oh, sorry. Here we go. Can you see it now?
Yes. It was just on dashboard.
All right. Thank you. I'm sure that was underwhelming for everyone. So you would just click on the page you want.
We're on the edge of our seat, Izzy.
I had to make you want it. Under current page, that's where you can click on add behavior and then visibility and see the different options. So here I have it set to show this page when I've added online or silent auction items. I know some groups prefer to actually have it so that it's just in edit mode. So I, as an organizer, can go in here, make changes, and then when I'm ready, just delete that visibility rule or change it. And there are 3 different modes in the new website editor. So I just want to show you down here, it defaults to standard, which means this is what people will see when they're signed in. However, my preference as someone setting up events is typically to check the full to see what pages are possible, because you can see here I have a live auction preview page, raffle page, all these different pages with the lines like that. That means there's a visibility rule on that page. So I'll often go in here, make the changes in full, and then switch back to standard to take a look. And then when you're done, you can click the lock at the top left-hand side here. And this, oh, me too, you like to go in there, perfect. And it will show you what the website looks like to the public view. I always encourage groups before they send out links to buy things or look at the online auction to check the website editor. But circling back to the question, yes, you can copy things over, and if it's not how you want, you can modify it as needed.
Thanks. And that is for the website, but also the idea, if you copy your event over to over and the items that you have, you'll see them display on your dashboard as well. So it's not going to stop anything from being copied over. Robert asked, does the settings search feature search all settings or only what is on that page? And so our settings page is a very long list. So it does include a lot. So it should be searching everything that is on that page. You'll notice, for example, to the left, we have credit card settings, but that you can do is kind of an isolated set, but they're also listed on that long list as well. So you should be seeing our settings there as well. Kathy asks, can you set up text messages to tell someone they've won a silent auction item when you have paper auction?
So what we typically recommend with that is if you have texting enabled, which is available with either our Emerald or Diamond license, so either of the paid plans, you can send a statement. So you're not going to be able to send the same email, which is under communication, system emails. This is where you can see what goes out, what potentially is triggered. So for the online auction ones, this goes out automatically. You can't trigger that because that's for online auction items, but you can send a statement. And so that would just be under participants. And then you go down statements here, and you can email, print, or text those out. And that is going to show everything they won, as well as anything they donated or purchased. And if they have a balance, there will be a button to click on to check out. So you can go ahead and do that here on the left-hand side.
Thank you. Jen asked, do you have a tutorial that shows the settings you recommend?
Oh, that's a tough one because events are so different in nature. Depending on your preference and how you have things set up. So we have an overview of the settings, but we don't necessarily have the ones we recommend because we don't want to steer you in the wrong direction if you're not having that type of event. So for example, with tickets, I would say when you go to the settings, you can type tickets. Some of these may not be applicable for everyone. So if I am typing tickets here, you can choose the ticket settings for the colors. You can set a maximum or minimum tickets. You can go over here if you're like, I don't want to use the search feature. I would recommend always checking to see if you have a maximum in setting that, because you don't want to oversell your tickets. If you have meal choices, I would encourage you to set them up here before you start selling so you can prompt them for their meal choices. And I would encourage you to set the event details, meaning the event start time and location and date, because if you add it here, the neat thing is it's going to pre-populate on the e-ticket. So for tickets, that's what I would say you'd want to do. And for settings in general, depending on what you're doing, like if you're having an online auction and you just want to see those settings, you can also just click here on online bidding. But if you're having a paper auction or live auction, you don't need to spend time, you don't need to look at those online bidding settings at all. So that's why we don't have use these settings kind of thing, is because it is already broken down based on if you're having an online auction, you can either search here or click here. If you are having registration checkout, so they're broken up here, and I would say you want to look at them to know they're options, because something that I find to be quite common is you don't know what you don't know. And once you look at that page, it may get you thinking, oh, I didn't even know that max bidding was a setting, for example, or that requiring a credit card was a setting. So I would say just click on whichever one relates to what you're doing. And if you have any questions, you can always drop in the chat and ask us as well.
And keep in mind, the defaults in there are defaults for a reason, because that's how the majority of people are running their auctions. So the defaults are already at the majority of what we think is a best practice. So making tweaks is based on your individual activities that you're working on.
Great point, Lori.
Lots of fun shout outs to the table settings and the assigned seating settings. We're really excited about that as well. But can you show us how to get there, Elizabeth?
Sorry, I probably went too fast. Just under tickets on the left-hand side here, then you can go to tables, and you'll be able to add a table, or you can click to edit it right here with the pencil icon. That allows you to change the table title or seating. So I could say like 1, Smith table, 2, Jones table, and I could change it to 10. And then here is assigned seating. This is where you can put people at tables, and you can either view specific tables, all tables, you can view all except full tables, and this feature over here is going to allow you to expand to see who's at the table. And on the left hand side, that's where it shows guests with assigned tickets that aren't at tables yet, and you can click here to put them at a table, or you can drag them over. So that's just under tickets and then tables. Now, some of you might have also noticed that you can get there under participants. So participants and tables is an option as well. You can do it either way. If you are using Auctria's table feature, I know a lot of groups really love under tickets. Here on the left-hand side, we have a tickets report. And this tickets report is going to show you the purchaser and then who their guests are. So I know, for example, Paul Friend, Sandy, and Paul, those tickets were purchased together, so I may want to seat them together. You don't have to. They're not automatically seated together if they're individual tickets, but this will show you who the purchaser is and who the guests are, and then you can export it if you'd like as well.
That is great. Lisa asked, how does the import work? We track our guests with Blackbaud Razor's Edge. Can we import the information from there?
With either of our paid plans, Emerald or Diamond, you can use our import feature. So here, import, and then you would select what you're going to import. So you could say participant, and you can use Excel or CSV or Google Sheets. If you are using Google Sheets, pro tip, you just want to make sure that it is publicly accessible and not in private mode or only shared with certain groups. You won't be able to import it. And then you will just map the field. So when you're up here, you could say map field or import, and it will tell you the fields that you're able to import. So for example, first name, last name, email, and you just want to make sure that you have those fields mapped properly so that it imports correctly.
That is great. Thank you. And Margaret asks, what does dessert dash mean?
Dessert dash, well, there are a few different ways of doing this, but essentially an event, there are a lot of yummy different desserts, and people at tables can donate or to get the first pick of the dessert. So, for example, I'm competing. I'm at table 2, Tracy's at table 3, Lori's at table 4, and we're all donating and encouraging the people at our table to donate, and whichever one gets the highest gets to go first, gets to go second, gets to go third. It really depends. There are a few ways of doing this. If I was competing against Lori, I know I'd probably lose if there was cake because she loves cake, so she'd probably out-donate me. But if it was donuts, I'd win.
It's people cumulatively, not individuals.
Yes, not just one person. So it is the people at your table. This is a really fun way to get guests talking to each other, being like, come on, we're so close. And there are a few different ways to do that. You can either do it on paper sheets, writing it down, and then it being tallied, or what we talked about earlier is the new way where you could do it online. I've seen some groups put QR codes on display pages and have people scan to donate, and then they'll keep track of it on an AV screen, and it will show where things are at. So it's like, oh, I'm so close to getting this. I really want those donut tears or something, you know? And so it's a fun way, but I would say you'll want to think out what works best for your group.
There are so many great examples, and Lori, you often you recommend that's our Facebook group, Auction Team Talk. There's great conversation that happen, and sometimes you may want to throw it in there and say, what was the best dessert dash that you ever ran, because they are very fun, very interactive, and it works, wouldn't you say, for the competitive people in the room.
Oh, yeah. A good point with Auction Team Talk, Tracy, because it's not just us on there. It's a bunch of different organizers as well as auctioneers and MCs. So you're really getting a lot of different perspectives and really great insight.
And then this came back to a little bit of the question of trying to get Auctria open and pinning and opening to a previous event. And thank you. They said they have it set up so that Auctria tab opens when Google starts up for them as well. And so you can pin it. You don't want to pin it for an exact event though, because that does what causes an older one to come up and not your most frequent. Or you're not your most current, sorry. Kathy asks, with paddle raise or dessert auction, do you still pin the amount to go to the next bid number?
So with donations here under the paddle race, you say I'm selecting the $100 level or whatever level, you can just put paddle number record. So you don't need to pin it anymore because the level, if you've preset it, it's just going to default to that. And if you're like, which level did I have it set at? If you forgot which one you clicked, it's okay. It'll tell you right here and it will have a little box around it. So now I'm going to move to 2,500 and you can see the red box moved and the total 2,500 is here.
That's great.
It's pretty much self-pinning is what it is.
Yeah, allows you to move it along so quickly. Elizabeth, can we go into the check-in area? There's a few questions on how do you change or add a bidder number? Can we give them a bidder number at check-in?
Yeah, definitely. So something I would say before I go here, if you're asking about the bidder paddle number, is you would want to go to the settings before you start your event, and you can either search here or under registration checkout settings. There is a spot to automatically assign numbers, which is what it does by default. But if you want, you can change this to only assign it on ticket sales or never automatically assign and then assign at the door. Something I do want to mention with never automatically assign is the paddles, if they are the same number, are linked, which means somebody can share a credit card. So if you do this, never automatically assign, that means you can't pre-link them. People couldn't be pre-linked. But you would be able to choose these options first and choose what the paddle numbers are going to start with. So I know a lot of times auctioneers will prefer a 3-digit number, so you'll want to talk to your team and see what they say there. And you can do this and save. That way you don't have to make a ton of changes later because you've already preset those paddle numbers. If you did want to change them at the door, under the check-in tab here, you can click on someone and it's going to show you their paddle number on the upper right hand side here. If you need to change it, you just click on it. So I know that was pretty fast. I'll do it again. You just click on it, it will pop up and you can enter a number and hit change paddle number or auto assign a new paddle number, if you don't know what the next available number is, because you will get a warning if you try to give somebody a paddle number that has already been assigned to someone else. And that warning is just to make sure you know that that's going to link up, meaning that they can share a credit card, which is super common for couples, but you don't want to do that unintentionally. So just click here and that's how you can change the number.
That's great. Thank you. Christina asked, do paddle raise amounts have QR codes so people can donate at the tables?
You can print a display page with a QR code. That is optional. So right here under printing, there is an option for display pages. And under options, you can scroll down and see where it says include a QR code for the item on the website. If you set this to yes, when you print your display pages, they'll have a QR code that takes people specifically to that item.
And I was just saying, when you go to print them, it will show you what you have under donations. And so if you are doing it intentionally for the donations, it'll show you which donations have been defined and you can make sure you like the levels that are there. And if not, you can go in and create one as well to match the levels if you wanted. And then there was a great amount of questions about the admin app, if they're for event coordinators. And Lori, you answered that. Yes, it is intended for the event coordinator. We have a different bidders app, participant guest app, but the one we are talking about today is intended for event coordinators. And can you have can the admin app on multiple phones day of? And the answer was yes. And I love this one. Jen is here's hoping the new help desk can read my mind better. I'm assuming that was our when we answer questions, and we get you on that one. We get it. And then a little bit getting back to how do you handle handing out bid cards when you are using the admin app working the room? And
I was just talking to an event planner today, and they're not handing out the bid cards and the catalogs to people anymore. They're putting them at the table at their location, but they're handing them just a little table card, and it has their table number and it has their bidder number, because they are still doing paper bidding in the room for those. And if they're doing mobile bidding, then they don't even need it until they sit down. So they're trying to make it as easy as possible, as quick as possible. That's just one option.
yeah, I was at an event where they actually pretty quickly in the line had the admin app, and then they had another volunteer, and they were handwriting the numbers. And so they would pull up the ticket. Thanks, Elizabeth, for coming. Your number 82. The other person would say 82. And then then one person would move on and they would finish up. Do you have any questions? Code check. You can go do this, finish that up. And then they went down the line that way. Kind of the ambassador idea, but not being behind a desk. So
you don't want me hand printing your bid cards for sure. I don't know if that would be big enough and broad enough to see across the room. But a lot of organizations, they'll put them in envelopes also, or little level things. So paddle numbers from 100 to 150 to 120, 121 to 130. That way they can quickly grab them out of there.
That is so much better, Lori.
Yeah, that's it. There's all different ways. We used to have our checklist of, bring extra phone cords, bring it's just, these are just the kind of things you learn every time you do an event. You get smarter each and every time.
I think it's worth mentioning our self-check-in feature, our new one here, just because a lot of groups I've seen, I was talking to an organizer earlier today that is passing out the packets like you mentioned, but they're putting them at the table unless people didn't pre-check in. So what they did is they went under communication and they actually customized this self-check-in request email to say pre-check-in. So this is how it defaults, but you can customize this. If you don't want this to be check-in, you can put verbiage here like, to avoid long lines, please pre-check in and show your email to receive your packet. Or in this case, they have the packets at their seat. And then you can choose what is required for that. So under check-in, before they check in, you could go to the settings and say, you can be pre-checked in if you include your email or your phone number or your card. So you can choose what's required. And then down here, there's an option actually to show them their table number or their paddle number if they've checked in. So this is another way to try to get that information in advance. It's just if you are planning on utilizing the self-check-in feature to help streamline things, make sure you check these settings first before just sending out the email. And it really does help to personalize that self-check-in email rather than just use the standard. And then with that being said, once you have as much of that information, you could just use the admin app to scan the QR code, because on the tickets, if you're looking at the e-tickets, there is a QR code that you can use to scan in the admin app. So here, and then you can just bring it up and see if they're checked in or not. That was all.
Oh, that's great. And then Margaret asks, what assurances can we provide clients concerning security of their personal information and credit card numbers? So that hasn't changed. That it's always been secure. Auctria is PCI compliant. We are comply with our privacy. So if you are integrated with Stripe or authorized.net, they manage the credit cards. Those numbers never hit our servers. You will see a token amount of the last 4 digits. So the information is secure, and if you're using Stripe, it falls under the Stripe compliance. Are you going to show that?
I don't think it'll show up a pop-up. I'm showing it. I just realized in the software, not Auctria, but in the webinar software, it won't show
That
add,
one
but
it showed the last 4 digits.
okay, it did show you. Perfect. Yeah, it'll show the card type and the last 4 digits here. And if you hover over it, you can see that as well. It'll show additional details, but just the card type and the last 4. So if they're like, which card do I have on file? When they go to pay, if you say, do you want to use the card on file? You could say, oh, you have the Visa ending in 4242. But that's it. You're not going to be able to see all the details.
And the only reason we reveal that is sometimes people say, what card do I have on file? And so we just give very high level, can't do anything with it. And just so you'd say, it's the Visa. Really some fun call outs that go on for about Dean, Patrick, go, George, go. I like that. Then how do people get into the welcome calls?
You just sign up.
Yeah, if you go to our webinars page, you will see that as well on the right-hand side. There's a list of the welcome calls, or you may see it on a banner on your dashboard. So, and then, yeah, here we go. Under the upcoming banner. Yeah, you can see them there, or they're listed there as well. And then Libby asked, did I hear something about a free 3-day marketing conference? Laura, you were sharing about such exciting events coming up.
Yes, I will grab that link and put it in here. Yes, I'm going to have it posted on our webinars page, but I will try to put my fingers on it right now and drop it in the chat here. Give me a minute. Sorry.
And I just want to make sure we're going through what's really funny, as then there was all kinds of cheering, trying to win the Sugar Wish. So that went on. It was so good. So thank you for that. Lee said, missed something. Was something said about not copying an old event to create a new event? And I think what we did share about is, and it came up earlier too, somebody said, oh no, I love to copy my event website. None of that is stopped. You can continue to copy your event websites. Elizabeth, you just shared about that there are some features, some visibility rules that are on the new templates that may not be on your current template, if that is something you wanted to have. So there's those visibility rules that you can set yourself.
Yeah, I did just want to mention, if you copy an event, under the event tab, you can go copy event. So this is what it looks like for anyone that hasn't done it yet. You'd put the event name here, the new date. A lot of groups will choose to copy the settings. If they worked well for you last time, you're like, I want to copy those settings. I do not want to go through all of them again. They'll copy their website. Sometimes they'll even reuse the same website address. Most groups will not copy all of the items. But hang with me here, because if you don't copy all the items and you copy the event, you can always go back into the past event. And it's really common to go under items. You can do this at any time and go to copy items and say which event you want to copy it to. So like if I wanted to copy it to this one, I can say which items I want to copy over. And a lot of groups will copy over the tickets, for example, if they're the same, or maybe the sponsorship levels or donation items, and they'll copy those over if they're the same, so they don't have to redo that and hit copy. So you can just select certain items rather than copying all items over. And then, oh, sorry, this came up in chat, so I wanted to mention it too. If you do copy an item and you had an event-specific graphic under your event tab, this is what shows at the top header of your emails. You're going to want to go in there. So if you had a black and white ball last year, and this year it's going to be, I don't know, 80s party, maybe you'll go under the images tab and you'll swap this out in your new event to make sure that the branding is correct in your system emails.
That is great. Thank you. And then I'm just going to go through, I think some of these have been answered when we talk about the dessert dash, about tables. So we did already cover that. So hopefully that answered those questions along the way. So I'm just trying to scan through. Please let us know. Christine, there was a couple of questions on tickets. One about setting up golf registration for multiple people for foursomes. And then Christine said, how do you pull up and print or export a list of participants with detail of number purchased and guest names? So I think what we're asking is a little bit about the ticket management and reports.
Yeah, so under tickets, you can create your ticket item. So here I could say add ticket item, and you can create the item. I generally recommend making the item number something unique, like T1, T2, foursome, or a certain number, like 300 or 400, so you know the range there. That way you can keep the other item numbers available for your auction if you're having one, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I could say golf foursome. If you want, you can add a tag to this. I know some groups have luncheons or dinners before or after golfing, so they may say dinner. Anybody that has this ticket is getting a dinner, for example. And then description, you can put what it includes there. Value is going to be how much it's going to cost. And then I would say 4 tickets are included in this sale. And you can say create table when sold. It's not that they have to sit at a table. It's just that will group those 4 people together. So the purchaser and their 3 guests. That way you don't have to manually do that. And then you can add certain availability dates in the images if you'd like and say add ticket. So if you're doing a foursome, that's how a lot of groups will do it. And then under tickets, they can buy it on the website if you've set it up that way and have payment processing enabled. You can also record sales on the back end. We know that a lot of times people may bring you a check or cash and you need to record that on the back end. So you would just go to sell tickets here, select the item that you're going to be selling. So early bird ticket, foursome, whatever your tickets are. You can either choose a participant if they're in here, or you can add a new one. And then below that, once you have selected somebody, it will show if you're assigning them a purchase ticket or if it's all to other people, and then you can do the payment option. So I could say other, and then I could say cash or check or whatever, and then you can send them a ticket statement. It is nice to send them a ticket statement if you want them to be able to update their guests. So for a lot of times, I know sponsors or foursomes that you record on the back end, you only have the purchaser's information. So if you hit record sale and have it checked, which it is by default, to send the ticket statement, that will allow them to go into the email and add their guest names and email addresses.
Thank you. And Elizabeth, could you just show under tickets, there's some about reporting and exporting information, and we have some linked reports down below of ticket sales or the tickets report. All of these are also under our Explore area under reports. And if you click on those, you can add and remove columns. I think they wanted to know a list of participants with details of purchasers, and you can look at the purchaser information. You can add columns, remove columns, and then we have an export there as well. And then Lori, I just going to do a call out from Christina. She said, what would the big screen look like if we wanted to show paddle raise amounts live? Can guests donate the paddle raise somewhere on their own? And I know you've talked about live events and displaying and using the leaderboard.
Right. So you can put up a leaderboard, and a leaderboard requires that somebody put it in a computer so that it shows up on the leaderboard. So you have to have somebody that can key in stuff really fast. Or if you're doing QR codes and you're scanning it, that will instantaneously show up as well. So it depends on what's happening in your room. If you want to do a leaderboard for your auction items, that's easy because that's instantaneous because it's online. What else was the question about?
Yeah, can guests donate to the paddle raise somewhere on their own?
Oh, for sure. You can have just the QR code that goes to your paddle raise or your donation page and have them scan and donate. We see that a lot in festivals or where areas are spread out at a carnival, at a kid's school, throughout the community. We see that over the holidays. There were some Christmas wreath walking tours, and people would scan the code, donate. There's scores of ways to utilize that. And then somebody's showing here the leaderboard. Our leaderboard can go vertical. Your leaderboard can go horizontal so that it's a ticker.
That is so fun. There was another question about trying to download our admin app and they were having a problem. So sorry to hear that. If you could reach out at hello@auctria.com, that is kind of a new problem. We're not seeing that very often. So sorry to hear that you're having a problem. And we'll ask you a few more questions in there as well. And trying to just click through, there was a question about using the QR codes, like we mentioned on the dessert dash bid sheets. Would that bill their credit card directly? Would they pay directly? Would that add it to their account? Elizabeth, how do you see that show up often with our launch customers?
More often than not, they're adding it to their account. So they're scanning it and they're making a donation. When you're adding items in Auctria, like for example, if you're selling something, I would encourage you to look at, let me see here, a for sale item or donation item. It's just loading a little bit slowly. Oh, because I was going through too many tabs. There is something called online purchase behavior. So you can go in here and you can say immediate payment, add to account for participants, otherwise immediate. So you do have some control over that. So I guess the answer is, depends how you set it up.
and what you would like to happen. It's that great conversation to what's the expectation at the event. Are you going to be sending out statements at the end, or do you want them to pay immediately? We've had the conversation often about donations. Often that's a statement, but that you get to choose. Sometimes raffle tickets. People like to capture that money immediately before the raffle happens. You can look at the default and define. Jen asks, what's your preferred consignment travel company with best prices? So thanks for asking that question. Elizabeth, do you mind going to our partners page? And Lori, would you like to share more about our partners?
Yeah, on our partners page, they've all been vetted. I have talked to these people more than one occasion. And they're on there because they are completely dedicated to the not-for-profit space. I would choose any of these. They're all pretty even. A lot of them buy from packages from each other because they specialize in one geo or the other. So you may see a lot of crossover. If you scroll up a touch, the Elysium one on there, I would say that one is more European travel. They are actually based over in the UK and they specialize in that. So I would say if you're going to do European travel, I would pick Elysium. If you're doing any of the other areas, any of them can help you. The others do have domestic as well as international. So I'm not saying not use their international, but I'm telling you Elysium is hard coded into that area. They have a lot of connections to little castles and things that are very localized to their area. And then of course we have our other no risk items on here, as well as finding other donation items like Donation Match and Shareway. And I talked about them coming to our webinar stage shortly in the next couple weeks.
This page is, oh, sorry, Tracy. I was just going to say, this is also a great page to see our other partners. Like if you're looking for an auctioneer and you can choose to have it this way, or you can sort alphabetically. We also have different in-person staffing, golf-specific on-site event support. So you can see all of those here, all listed under this drop-down.
That is great. Thank you. Just trying to go through, Jennifer talked about last minute changes, participants that change out guests, any tips to streamline all the changes, rearranging tables, guests, seats, bidder names, replacements. We understand that. Elizabeth, I know often you'll talk about that in the Go Live call with guests with their users on how do you capture those last minute changes?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say something you want to do pre-event, because obviously you probably can't get all of the information, but the more you get, the better in advance. So under tickets, You can go in and send those ticket statements, and you can customize those like we talked about earlier, where you can say, to help streamline check-in, please update your guest. And then it makes it really easy because all they have to do, rather than sending an email from your organization email where they don't have direct access to the tickets, if you send this ticket statement, they can just go in and click on manage tickets to add their guest information, which will automatically update the system. And if they add an email, it will email their guest. We also have a registered credit card request email you can send out in advance, prompting people to add a credit card. So that's one way. Another way is if you go in here, I would always encourage every group to do this beforehand. Type guests. See how many you have that are guest of. If you see, I have 38 people in here who don't have their information, I can see who the purchasers are. So connected advertising. If they have a lot like this and you've already sent them a ticket statement, at that point I typically recommend reaching out in advance, and then you can go in here if you realize that they are not going to. We know that it happens a lot of times, especially with sponsorships. If you go in here, you can just go to tickets. So I went under the purchaser. Again, I know I'm moving fast. So I went under the purchaser, and then I went under their tickets tab. You can scroll down. I see it says guest of. If I hit transfer ticket, I can put the new person's name. So Tina Evans at Gmail. And if I have this box checked, it's going to send them their e-ticket when I do that. So then they can sign in and get their own information. So this is before the event, how you could do that. At the event, if you need to make changes, it's really nice under check-in. If you bring up the person, that other feature, or add other guests, right here you can see I have all of these other guests you may want to include. This is a really quick way to update it as well. So if they show up and I'm looking up Tina Evans, don't see her in the system, I ask if she's a guest of someone, I can do it that way. Or I can just see here, it says other guests, and if they're wanting to check in, I can add them and then update their information here. So I could click guest of and make this Tina and then Evans, and then always hit the check mark to save. So there are a few ways you can do it. I think if it's at the event and you weren't able to get that information in advance, this is a great bet because it makes it really easy to include them in check-in.
Great. And while you were there, Elizabeth, there's a question, and I'm not sure I'm answering this correctly by Mary. Is there a way to have a paddle number match the bidding number? And what I'm wondering is if somebody comes in, like above here, you can change their participant number, their bidder number through the check-in page right there.
Yeah, so I could say 100, and that was my paddle number, so it tells me that one's already being used. And then it's asking me, do I want to link them? Oh, there are a couple. You could say yes or no. I'm like, I'll go with a different number. You can do that here, and then hit change paddle number.
So let us. Yeah, okay. So it can be changed. Paul asks, is there kiosk bidding instead of paper bid sheets for online silent auctions? So yes, we do have kiosk bidding, which is a great feature, and that is under our websites. Kiosk mode bidding under there. And then Jennifer asked, is there a new shortcut to record extra money when people want to check out and pay extra? Yes, it takes several extra keystrokes. We didn't even cover that this time. I should have covered that in the checkout because it is a wonderful feature. So if you if you pick number 1, I think they've been very active in this event, and they have some money owing. And if you'll see, to make a donation, you can click donation. So right under their name, you can click that as they're at the checkout and record that way. Somebody did ask about online paddle raises. You can add that to the website where guests can purchase or make a donation through your website at the different levels. So it can happen through the website at any time. It can happen on the online checkout when participants are bidding, are checking themselves out, and then it can happen from the checkout as well. We like to make sure that donations can happen at every point and in every way.
If they're throwing money at you, catch it as fast as you can.
Yes. So there is some great other questions. Jeannie asks, this is our first year with you. Thank you so much for choosing Auctria. Do your settings transferred forward to your next year's to save settings up again? So Elizabeth, can you share as you are the copy?
Under event, you have copy event, and you can choose whether or not you want to copy the settings over. So uncheck if you don't want it, check if you do want it. And a lot of times we'll see groups copy the settings, but if you're having a different kind of event, like maybe I'm having a gala in this spring, but I'm doing a golf event in the fall or something like that, you may not want the settings to be exactly the same. So know that you can choose to copy over the settings or you cannot.
That is great. Libby asked, it would be great to have a best practices webinar for each area of the auction, and that includes tips that you mentioned. So thank you, Lori, along with the other ways to use Auctria to make the process smoother. And so then Lori dropped in a webinar that we had run called Level Up Your Fundraising, the Momentum Boost. And so that did cover many of the tips and areas that we talked about, also grabbing from the thought leaders that we have had through our webinars over the year as well. So thanks for that request, and thanks for that post. Again, I think there was a question about categories, but Mary said she had to drop off. So you can, under the item, set up the category there as well. And have a list of categories. Every item can have one category. If you would like them to have more, then you can use tags as well. There's a question about the picker wheel. So thanks. Lori has been dropping in what we have used there as well. And I think that we are trying to go through. Nikki asked, can you assign tickets prior to payment? Yes, you can. I think Elizabeth may have answered that a little bit when she was talking about the tickets and selling and the payment options. So you can sell a ticket from the dashboard like she's and have a payment owing under none.
I had several people request launch customers today that we do this and then hit record sale, and it sent a ticket statement. And since they had a payment processor connected, then those people could just click on the email to pay. So it essentially acted as an invoice where they could update their guest information and make payment from there. This is fairly common where you maybe want to get a sponsor up, but they haven't paid you yet. You know they're going to give you a check later or donor advice funds. They're going to get you the money. So you could record it on the back end. We also have a pay later feature, but if you turn on pay later under your settings, it will allow everybody to choose that. So it's not just specific for certain people. So it really depends if you want to open that up to everyone or just make it for certain people by recording it for them on the back end. So here under the settings page, the unified settings, we have an option for pay later, and you can choose those checkout options. Like you could put cash or check, but this is just a pledge to pay you later. This is so you know that, hey, they want tickets, but they're saying they'll pay you later with cash or check or whatever options you add there. As opposed to the first option where I showed you, which is maybe if you don't want to advertise that so much online, you're trying to get them to pay by credit card, but if they come in, you're not going to refuse that check or the cash or whatever they're giving you. So then that's when you could record it on the dashboard.
So good. Thank you. Elizabeth, Sarah asked, is there a printing option to print bid cards?
Yes. So under printing, if you go down, we do have different word templates, and you can choose participants' labels and paddles. And then we have a few different options. You can export and modify as you see fit. Like if I wanted to include their access code or QR code, or if I didn't want to, different size options. And then you can hit generate document. And so I know that a lot of groups love these and use these regularly, like if they want a half-page paddle, for example. But some groups do like to customize it and know that that's available. If you export it, you can then upload it and then generate the document.
That is great. And then Kathy asked, can you import your bidders to the test auction? And so we caution about using your live names in your test
We're
auction.
going to side eye you, Kathy. We're not
I'm
sure if that's what you really want to do.
So because in our test auction, it will actually send out notifications. So we say usually you just want to have your bidders, your team in there so you can see what the
Right.
process looks like, and you're not sending item 1 notifications for items that haven't even opened yet. So you can put participants. We generally say you'll want that to be your team to be in there into the test auction.
And part of the reason why I would say you also, because you could technically just copy over select participants like your team. However, it is, in my opinion, better not to do that, because if it's a test auction, you want to test it, right? So you want to go to the website in the test auction, and you could test buying a ticket from the website and see what that process is like. What email do you get? How does it work when you click on it? What does that look like? And really just testing the system all around. And then that way you'll be in the system, but you'll have experienced the process as if you were a guest.
That is great. And then Jen asks, how do I remove in-kind donations from my event total?
Yeah, so when you are going here under items and you are going to item donors and recording a new in kind, if you select a donation in kind, that is going to take it out of the income from the auction or the event. If you don't select that, it will add it to the total. And the reason why it doesn't just automatically exclude it is we have quite a few groups actually that want those funds to show up. Maybe they received a check. They don't want their thermometer showing as 0 on the website. They want it to show some funds they got. So they'll go in here and record it, and they'll uncheck this so that it shows. If you don't want it to show, just click donation in kind and it will not be included in the total.
That's great. And there's a great question from Robert. It's such a practical question I think we've all had at events. They require a credit card to bid, which they don't want to change. However, there is often one attendee who refuses to give a card and will pay by check at the end. Is there a way to make an exception for one person and not everyone? So unfortunately, no. When that is clicked on for online bidding, require credit card to bid, that applies to everyone. But Elizabeth and Lori, have you heard of some other workarounds for this?
If they're doing online, no. But if they're in the room, you just don't accept the card, and then you track them down either at the end of the night or 3 weeks later, even though they promised to give it to you on the way out.
I mean, I've seen some groups, it really depends on how big of a donor the person is or how much money they anticipate they'll be spending, but I have seen a few groups record things on the back end. So we do have the option under bidding to go in here and say record online bids, and you can force things as an admin. Now, just know you'll just want to remember that they don't have a card on file if you're doing that then, but you do have the option to go under the bidding tab and to practice recording things. If you are doing this, just make sure you don't click the box that close bidding for this item unless you're actually trying to close the bidding for the item, because that wouldn't be great, but you can record it here for them and then hit record. So I'd go here, select, and then hit record. And if you're going to force it, like I put it was 50, but it's supposed to be 125, I as the admin can go in here and say, nope, I'm going to force it.
Right. Okay. The challenge there is once they get outbid, they'll get an email, and then
they'll have to come back and find you.
They're going to come back. Exactly.
I know those are really challenging and delicate situations every time.
Depends.
Every time. Susan asked, is there a reason ticket purchasers are asked to register information a second time?
I'm not quite sure I follow. If you add, so if you are on the website and you buy tickets and add the guest information, it will just show you what it is. And you can click manage tickets if you need to change it. Like if there is a guest that maybe got sick and can't attend and you want to transfer that ticket to someone else, that would be why it shows. So you have the ability to do that. Not
once they buy a ticket, they're registered in the system. So that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, it could be that if they sometimes we'll see that they bought tickets and then they come in and there's a link when they purchase the ticket that could a personalized link that will bring them in. And so if that may be a reason why they went through the register link and asked a second time.
Right. Or if they were uploaded, but they weren't,
I see. Okay, so here, maybe I'll share this tab. Let me go get off this leaderboard and I'll show when you're on the website, there is a tickets page if you have tickets, but by default, there's also a register page. This is register for the auction. And some groups will clarify here because maybe I've heard from a few groups that people think they need to register even if they have a ticket. So you could make this a auction registration if your group is having a little bit of confusion regarding this. And then sometimes they'll even add text here that says ticket holders are automatically registered and do not need to register here, kind of thing. So you can add that text and then update it to make it clear. Or if you are not having an online auction and allowing people that are not attending to bid in the auction, you can also hide this page at the top by double clicking on the header and going down here and clicking the trash icon to remove. You can also go under the settings and you can turn off allow registration without a ticket if this is causing confusion and you're not allowing external registration.
Great point. Great point. Lori asked, in the past when someone won an auction item online, guests had some confusion. They thought that since they had entered their credit card, it was automatically charged. I had to walk them through several screens on the phone app to select the option to pay the fees. Is that the same this year? And then I just want to call out Robert. Thank you. They have something similar, and he said they do a global checkout within a minute of the auction ending. And so there is. Elizabeth, how would you like to walk through this one? You do this again often.
So you are correct in that it still does not automatically charge everyone. And the reason being is that a lot of organizations take check or cash from people, or maybe they got some payments before and they didn't, especially with like sponsors or table purchasers, they don't want to automatically charge those cards and irritate those donors that they worked really hard to cultivate relationships with. So what they'll do is they'll go in here under checkout and maybe they'll do a batch checkout. So batch checkout is a great option because it will show you everyone with an outstanding balance and a credit card on file. You can select all, or in this case, if I'm like, oh my goodness, that Izzy Thorne and Tina Evans, they're going to give a check. I remember it's in my office. And so I could uncheck that and then I can hit checkout participant. So you can do it in mass this way if you want, but Auctria never automatically charges the credit cards, or they can check out on their own. If you're using Stripe, they're going to have an Apple or Google Pay option if they haven't that set up on their phone. If they have an iPhone and have Apple Pay set up, or an Android and have Google Pay, which makes it really easy. So a lot of times if they're looking to do it quickly and you have Stripe connected, Apple or Google Pay are fantastic options. Or tap to pay with the admin app, also great.
It's true. Thank you.
Awesome. I think we caught everything. If we did not, go ahead and drop your question into the bottom here so that it surfaces up for us. If not, I know we're way over time, and I appreciate each and every one of you for continuing to hang out with us. Your questions are important. Your feedback is important. It looks like it's quieting down. I think we answered everything. Is there a way to link bidder number and bid number? Bidder number and bid number. I'm going to need my crystal ball here to understand what that question is. Maybe a little more. Your bidder number. Your bidder number is your bidder pad. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Great webinar. Thank you. Lots of thank yous. Okay, ladies, I am going to wish everybody bids that soar. Hope you crush your fundraising goals. Tracy, Izzy, finish us out.
I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining. We're so excited to see how these new features can help you maximize your fundraising at your events. And I saw quite a few familiar names in the chat. So to all of my friends that are in there that we've been working with for the last couple of years or maybe this year, thanks for joining. We love seeing your names pop up. Tracy?
I'm the same way. I love seeing the names. Thanks for the ones. If this is your first one, we so appreciate you joining us. And for those that have used Auctria year over year, we certainly appreciate that. Thank you for coming to the webinar, and thank you for choosing Auctria. All the best. We are cheering you on, and your fundraiser may be fully successful.